Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's session of our Chat Chill community. Thanks for joining, everyone. I am Zaylen, and I am just waiting for our wonderful co-host Infidel, to join us and our guests in just a little while. Inviting Sacrilegious Discourse, our featured guest for the evening.
I love that I heard you say, I will bring up our co-host, and then as soon as you saw me, you went to our lovely co-host. And it's recorded, so.
I've got to do the flattery every week. I mean, I'm gonna admit, like sometimes, like I'll look at your personal Twitter page, and I'm just like, oh man, you managed to piss off a lot of people during the week, but I know it's all for a good cause, and I love you for it. But that's why I've got to throw in lovely, because this is our time to chill and chat.
Oh yeah, this is where I come for my sedation.
Yeah, but you don't fall asleep though.
No, wait, I'm sorry. Maybe you didn't understand. For my sedation. People say that I usually run with a very high engine, like I'm very high speed, and they assume that I must have some trick, but there's no trick to it. It's genuinely just I'm very high speed like this, so I love the relax, wind down, try to be a little more low key. That's why I always love when we have Patricia do our, mindfulness sessions. Like, I genuinely value that. Like, I say that out loud, and people think I'm joking. I value that so much more because I'm so, for lack of a better term, high strung.
Yeah, well, Patricia's awesome person all around, though, and I love her. She's a good person.
Hello, testing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you guys. It just sound a little.
Are you sure?
A little garbled, but I can
Okay.
understand what you guys are saying.
I,
And so good to have you here
I can
tonight.
I can hear everybody. I don't like anything. I don't like anything you're saying, but I can hear you fine.
Well, yeah, right, yeah.
And just while folks are filtering on in, before we get started, I just want to preface with saying I'm really glad to have the opportunity to chat with y'all and bring back Sacrilegious Discourse. So we did interview Sacrilegious Discourse a few months ago, and in my novice level of working at Twitter space, forgot to hit the record button. And our wonderful, amazing session just blipped into the netherverse and evaporated. And we were all just like, no. So if you were at that session, congrats. It's like it's a rare thing now. It never happened.
No. That interview, that episode, that moment now is exactly like God. If it exists, it's only in your head.
Exactly. And so, I apologize profusely, husband and wife. I did not mean to disrespect you in any way.
No apology necessary.
For forgiving.
We had a great time last time, and I'm sure we'll have a great time this time.
One of the great things about this, though, is that we're able to accept that that's just gone. We're not sitting here hoping that it resurrects itself one day.
It's right, yeah. No, that hope only lasted about 5 minutes, so that was after I messaged you guys. So it dissipated very quickly.
So I will say the record button is on. I know it says it's recording.
I can see it. It's blinking right now. So
everyone, be on your P's and Q's tonight. You're not an infidel. You're not allowed to use swear words because you've been told earlier today you couldn't do that.
Wait, what?
Oh snap! Are we in trouble?
I was like, what kind of shit did we get into?
I'm just looking like earlier today. It was some shit went down on it with infidel, and there was a Christian that basically ended with "but bless you," basically the equivalent of bless your heart, and that person was saying, well, I don't curse, so I'm sorry that you
they were basically saying that because I had to use quote unquote foul language, that I was beneath them. They would never speak to me that way. But I didn't say like "fuck you" or anything. I said it doesn't make any fucking sense, like something like that. And then they said "bless your heart" or "bless you," and it was like, you're doing way worse than I did. I just said it's not fucking true. You said I don't curse. Bless your heart. I'm like, dude, no, you just said "fuck you" in your special Christian magical way.
Right?
Exactly. Everyone knows what "bless your heart" means. Come on.
Yes, that's what they should call it, Christian magical cussing.
I call it the putting a winky face at the end of a sentence where you just insulted somebody, by which you mean to say, just kidding.
Yeah, bless your heart isn't wishing you good cardio health, or they would say, I wish you good health.
So everyone, tonight we'll probably spend about an hour chatting with our wonderful guests, and we'll open up to some Q&A a little bit later on, maybe about 20 minutes in. I'm just ready for it to be Friday already.
Well, this is technically the end of my vacation today, so
yeah,
I go back to work tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But we are excited to be here.
We are excited to be here.
I am extremely happy to be the disappointing end of your vacation.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we went to hell this week, legitimately.
We did go to hell.
And we went to our first dispensary ever.
We did also go to our first dispensary. That is true.
I'll throw that out there for you, Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I knew that was for me, and I appreciate it.
And
it was quite the experience.
I saw that post and I shared that with my husband. I was like, let's get married in hell.
It was really disappointing. Really disappointing.
They're doing it so wrong.
Yeah, somebody needs to take over hell. Like, we need to go invade hell.
Seriously.
And take it over.
It could be like this awesome place that's a tourist trap, and instead it's like a building full of, yep, this is Hell, Michigan. Buy your tchotchke that says so right here.
Yeah. Oddly enough, there was a lot of firewood across the street for sale. Which I thought was, odd.
I picture them piping in so annoyingly, Nelly hot in her for like hours and hours over and over. Just like, yeah, you should make it like it's a hell theme. Why would you not?
Right. Yeah. No, it was rather disappointing. But now we can say we've been to hell. Yeah, that's all I really wanted.
You were disappointed with your trip to hell and back.
It is what it is.
It was a fun trip.
Another place that's sort of like that is Roswell, if you've ever been there.
Yes!
Super cheese
ball. Wife's been there.
It was, but this was like Roswell, but only one of the buildings.
Yeah.
And Roswell didn't have that many buildings.
I was in Roswell once for a little bit, but I escaped.
I bet you were, Dale.
So a little blurb about Sacrilegious Discourse. They are a wonderful podcast. And for those that haven't really delved into reading the Bible, or maybe it's been a few years or decades, and you want to kind of refresh your memory, this is a really awesome way to start, because they are also, they're not theologians. They're just reading the Bible and their first take on it. So I find it hilariously entertaining, and I wish I would have had this podcast reading the Bible when I was much younger.
I'm going to put a caveat on that for you. And that's that if you want the correct pronunciation of names, you might not want to join us.
That is true.
Other than that, you got to
I apologize for everything I mispronounce.
To be fair, the majority of humans can't pronounce the majority of names in any of those ancient texts.
Yeah, and there's an inordinate amount of them in there.
There really are, and we're in a rough patch right now.
Yeah,
there's so many names.
I've actually been keeping up with your podcast. Actually, I'll say one more thing too before we start getting into questions and talking to you guys. I'll give my testimonial. I am a fan of Sacrilegious Discourse. Having them on here is an honor to me. I've known them since I started on Twitter, and they've been very valuable assets to me. They've also been very entertaining. We've had a friendship, I believe, from my end. Don't want to put words in. Don't want to put words in your mouth. But I literally listen to their podcast on a regular basis and love it. Like, it's one of my favorite things. And it's just like, there's the truth to this. And I'll say this, because we did talk about this the last time we spoke. I've literally listened to them on a date, and they know this because they brought this up before. And so it's not, just faking it. They are entertaining and hilarious, and this is the last time I will be nice to them for the rest of the evening.
Fair warning, fair enough.
Yes. And so, with that, why don't you give us another little tidbit of information about your podcast and your names, husband and wife? What's up with that? Tell us the story.
We go by husband and wife because we live in a small town USA kind of thing, like postcard picture setup, very right-wing conservative. And we have a kid, and we just feel like our safety might be in question if we advertise who we are. Not that we live in a bad area. We live in a very nice area, but it is a very conservative area. So
No, highly Christian nationalist out here, I would say.
yeah. So hence husband and wife. And I jokingly have always called my husband or boyfriend or whatever. So it just came naturally that that's what we would do in our podcast.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the reason that we started the podcast in the first place was because we had never read the Bible. And, honestly, we live out amongst a lot of people who claim to have read the Bible. I'm not going to say they have because I don't believe they have most of the time.
I don't see how they could have, quite honestly.
Anyway, they very much love this Jesus guy and God and all that other crap. And we just could never really wrap our head around it, and we didn't understand why other people were so enamored with religion and with God and with Jesus. Coming in from the outside, I mean, it's not that we've never had exposure to religion. We have, but it's been minimal.
We didn't grow up with it as part of our value system or our way of life. So it's very much like you said, outside in a culture that we don't belong to.
So it started as a reason to learn more about this culture, about the book in general, about, this religion that's around us all the time. And I think if anything, and this is the old standby, but like the more we read this thing, the more it secures our atheism, really. I mean, we don't...
I started out as a soft atheist, hard agnostic with a spiritual bent, and the Bible, thus far, we're still in the Old Testament, so I don't know, a lot of people might say that doesn't count or whatever, but it's part of the Bible, so it counts to me. But having read about a third of the Bible now, still in the old OT, it has killed whatever spirituality or agnosticism. I am like hard, cold atheist now, and that kind of saddens me, honestly.
Yeah. And we've gone into more and more as we've gone along. So we started this 2.5 years ago, maybe more at this point. But early on, we just kind of read and did like a couple days a week, and then it started becoming more and more a part of our lives. And what we do now, we don't just read the Bible. We actually, at the end of every week, we go back, we fill in some questions from the week that we had, just to go back and see if we can learn anything about what we had gone over, and maybe dig down some rabbit holes, which we love, because there's some really great rabbit holes in the Bible. I mean, honestly, there should be that's the good shit.
That is the good shit.
But we do a lot more. So we dig in and we try to learn a lot more about what this is about, what the time frames are, when this happened, who this was, all kinds of different things. And just so it makes sense to us at some level. There's going to be, I think we've talked about this a lot. There's going to be a lot more, I think, after we finish with the Bible that we're going to come back to, I think, because we want to do, maybe talk to people that know more about it and read into other books that we didn't cover that weren't part of the actual, NIV Bible that we're going over.
That's been some interesting stuff to discover. We had no idea that there were different versions of the Bible depending on which part of the Christian faith you belong to.
Right.
Or Judaism has its own Bible. We don't know.
Speaking of rabbit holes, just the Christian and Jewish texts alone create their own fucking rabbit holes.
It's so true.
There's just so many different ways you can go about this. So many different things you can learn and incorporate into this so-called religion, and it barely makes sense sometimes. But it's all there, and you can read it, and that's what we're doing. And we invite everybody and anybody to join us for it because we think it's kind of fun.
And during,
the way we do it.
And during the boring parts, I always try to remind us and our listeners as well, okay, we're just getting through this boring part because we want to be able to say we read the Bible. That's our ultimate goal. with this podcast holding us accountable is to be able to say we've read the Bible, and if you are listening from the beginning, you'll be able to say you've read it too. So we're just getting through it.
Well, that's, I think, the distinction. Like, there's a lot of people out there that cover bits of the Bible, the fun parts, right?
Mm-hmm.
We cover the whole fucking thing, and we do it every week, and we cover every chapter as a single episode. It's hard. Like, that's hard.
It is.
It's rough sometimes just trying to come up with anything to fucking say.
I want to chime in and just tell people, quickly that because you do it like that, because the way you break it down, it makes it easier to take in. And one of the things I always hear from people is, I'd like to read the whole Bible, but it's so boring. I just can't sit through it. I don't have the time. Well, if you're listening to a podcast, which can be half background, you can soak in all of this stuff, and you can kind of sit through the annoying part where people got to say begat, 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 and name 500 names that they can't pronounce, while you guys are doing the hard work, and they can listen to the fun parts, and get all the information.
And sometimes wife will speed it up, Sometimes wife's just like, yeah, this is the part you want to speed up.
Yep.
Dot stands for 30 begats.
Yeah. And I really like to add in extra nonsense words like mascara or Worcestershire sauce, because it makes just as much sense.
Yeah, really, I mean, the truth of the matter, what we're doing, we're just having a lot of fucking fun reading the Bible, and just
throwing in the Worcestershire sauce. Everybody says that nobody uses Worcestershire sauce, but
I love Worcestershire sauce.
I do too. However, we use it much more than you can use that book. At least for
it's true.
Yes, for sure.
It's true.
I actually call it, this is a very side note, but I've always called it "Where's Your Sister" sauce, because it made it easier for me to remember. Where's your sister?
I think what I used to call it before I met my wife here, I used to call it Worcestershire sauce. And I just kind of stuttered for a minute.
Worcestershire sauce.
There's a place in Boston called Worcestershire.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah.
One of the things I find really fun about your podcast too is that you're able to put in some of the humor into these long, boring passages. I just find it so entertaining. I was just earlier today, I was listening to some of your Book of Ezra as you were reading through that, and a husband pointed out that Ezra is like the original Salt Bae. Oh my! I lost it. I almost spit out my.
Oh, what's really funny
awesome.
Is that I had to explain to him several months ago who Salt Bae even was. So that's why that was so particularly funny to me.
Wait.
Yeah, I totally stole that from
this
wife.
may be just the way we're using the terms, but how is Lot's wife not the original Salt Bae?
I forget what was going on. They were something...
Because he was throwing down the salt. That's why.
There was a lot of salt going on in the Ezra story.
Yeah.
And no, you're right. Lot's wife definitely gets the main salt mention. But they were.
But they weren't interacting with the salt. It was like a punishment.
Can I tell you how,
right?
How uncomfortable I am not finishing the word babe? It's babe. Sorry, I just had to get that. It was like OCD. I had to get that out. Babe, salt babe.
Sure.
I'm an adult.
Babe. Yeah. So he stole that from me, and I'm so glad he did, because it's just indicative of how well we bounce off of each other.
Yeah, it was funny. After that episode ended, wife was like, "Man, I'm so jealous. You came up with that, and I didn't."
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
Well,
that was fucking brilliant, and it just made me laugh so hard. And it was, and you were getting through like sort of just a run of the mill passage, and I was just thinking, like, oh man, this is so great. This is why I love this podcast. and
I mean,
for folks that haven't listened to the podcast, one thing that you will find out too is that they will also throw in extra opportunities to discuss the chapters and little insights. As husband and wife were saying, they'll go down the rabbit hole, so to speak. And I think they offer extra tidbits of information if you are one of their supporters, I think. Is that right? One of their Patreons?
Sometimes we go down that route. Mostly the Patreon special episodes are... we've got a lot of really great fans who seem to just love us. And so a lot of our special episodes on Patreon are just kind of like personal discussions about things that we want to talk about or that we care about, and we try to personalize those as more. It's just a.
Those are less religion or Bible based and more just kind of free rap style.
Yeah, back before you guys blew up, I used to do your halftime show, and we were cool. We would just like chat and stuff. And now,
Well, you still have the. You're still famous in our podcast for letting us know how to pronounce. Crap. Now I can't even think of the name.
Baal.
Baal. Yeah.
I knew
Thank
where
you.
were going.
Yeah.
Yep. It was Baal.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we were referring to him as Baal before,
I actually
Dale let us know we were wrong.
I got you on the ball with Baal.
Yeah. That was back when we were doing Twitter Spaces.
Yeah.
So no one remembers that shit.
Well, we only did it twice, and we were like, I don't think we can do this.
It was difficult. It was so hard. You guys, Dale and Zaylen, you guys know the style of our podcast, and it's very much just kind of like a bouncing off of each other.
Riff.
We riff off each other the whole time, and it's this is something most people wouldn't know, but we don't do a lot of editing. This is basically a one take and we're done, and so we have to perform every time the correct way. We've only had to redo an entire episode maybe twice.
And that wasn't because we fucked things up so much as that it didn't get recorded correctly.
I have a direct question for wife, if I may refer to it that way. Well, no, because husband just said that because you don't do second takes, that he has to be able to perform every time. Is husband able to perform every time?
And yes. Yes, he is. Never a problem. Performance is not an issue. He gets full marks.
Podcast, I know.
You'll never hear me say a dirty word about husband except for when I do.
But sorry, I'm going back here just a step. But the point I was trying to make was that when we were doing the Twitter Spaces, it interrupted our flow.
Yeah.
Like we loved. Don't get me wrong, Dale. We loved stopping and talking to everybody. It was fun. Like it was actually a blast. We had a blast doing that. But it messed with our whole how we do our podcast, and we just couldn't do it. It wasn't working right for us. It didn't feel right to us.
We
had to incorporate new information. Yeah. Like when you taught us how to say Baal. Like that's just a small thing. But like other people would chime in sometimes with other bits of information. We're like, oh my god, we have to take all this information in and then do this on top of that. And it was just it was a bit much
after a podcast, not midway between.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. No, we just like to fuck up as we're going, and like you can call us out afterwards. That's fine. we'll admit fault afterwards. We're fine with that.
I mean, one of our taglines is we're neither scholars nor academics, and we apologize fully for everything we get wrong. We don't mind admitting that we are going to get it wrong and that we're just here learning. Yeah. And
we often come back the next week or the next day and we're like, oh, we fucked this up.
Because we always fuck something up.
One of the best ways to learn anything is to learn with somebody while they're learning. I've done it many times in different ways, and if the people who are teaching are also learning while they're teaching, like they're sharing what they're learning as they're learning it, it's easier to be interested. Like you said, you guys say this in your intro, I believe. You say it's our first time reading it, so read it with us, be part of this. It's a more of a group thing.
Yeah,
exactly. You get us. You really get us, Dale.
I will mention this, something we did just start doing recently, and we're going to continue to do because platforms like iTunes, I know specifically, only houses the last 300 or so episodes. We are going to start producing standalone podcasts. There's already one available for Genesis that are going to incorporate each separate book on its own. And at some point, once I get enough of these done, I'm going to actually start a multi-site podcast site that will have them all listed on that site as well. But we've got most of Genesis done at this point as a standalone, and I'm going to start working through Exodus. So eventually, I'm hoping to make it a resource available ongoing for anybody on any.
As of now, what? So I'm sorry. Right. As of now, what are the ways to listen to your podcast?
Pretty much anything audio. I mean, you can listen on YouTube. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher.
I'm on Castbox,
Amazon Music, Audible. You name it. We're probably on.
I apologize for asking that question. We only have about an hour left.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, but that's
Yeah, we're
awesome
everywhere.
that you're on so many platforms. Yeah, it's good to hear.
I think that husband's mom listens to us on YouTube because she can't figure out the platforms, the apps for podcasts. So that's what I recommend if you are podcast, not podcast. What am I trying to say?
If you're a podcast, no. But
if you are averse to listening,
I'm with you. If you're not,
I don't know.
familiar with the whole podcast thing, and you don't have apps on your phone, but you do YouTube, because we're Okay Atheist is now on YouTube as well, and we've been putting a few of our starting to do it, our older episodes on there. So you guys will eventually be on our Okay Atheist YouTube. We're turning these into those, and many people have already told me for them personally, it's an easier, better way to do it. Plus, you can go back and it's paused at the space you left at. If you're on YouTube and you're signed in, you go back days later and it's at the spot where you left it. So there are many reasons to do things on different platforms, and I'm with you with the YouTube thing. Yeah. I'm with you.
And some of our community kind of left Twitter since the whole Elon thing anyway. So they're like on Mastodon, or they're sitting in our Discord channel. And it's one way for them to still be able to chime in a bit later.
Yeah, I think I finally just stopped hemorrhaging followers. So
on
Twitter.
We've all been through it. I'm going to start throwing out a conspiracy theory here or there just so I get some other followers.
I think about that all the time, right? I mean, it's funny. I was talking to Dylan he writes for us occasionally. We were talking about this and how, on Twitter, it's very disconcerting because a lot of the stuff that you want to share gets no attention, but then the stupid shit you say is the stuff that goes viral and fucking gets a million clicks. And it's like, well, at least I'm getting attention, right? Because that's what they want us to do.
Right, exactly. So I guess you just kind of said it there in different words, but isn't that just the way of the world? The things for mass consumption.
It is.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I've had contact with, and I'm so lucky, one of my favorite theoretical quantum physicists, who I am a huge fan of. However, if I was a fan of the Kardashians, I would never be able to speak to them because people love the Kardashians and they'll retweet and they'll like. But I talk about quantum physics and it gets 2 likes, right? But it doesn't mean the Kardashians are more interested in quantum physics. just.
Well, and here's the thing: you can get a professor probably to come in here and talk about quantum physics with you, whereas you'd never get a Kardashian to come in here and talk with you. So,
yep, that's true.
Not sure.
The stuff that's important.
What I would want to speak to one of them about. However, if any of you know,
I'm just saying the importance.
I just want to say real quickly, if anybody knows any Kardashians and you can get them to come on Okay Atheist, I would love to interview them, and I will gladly debate them on any scientific or theologically related topic at their convenience.
That's a nice plug. I like that.
Yeah. You're a better human than I because I have zero interest in the Kardashians.
I mean, think of how popular that would make Okay Atheist, right? Shit, it would be like overnight fame.
I would speak to them as if I were interested in having a serious conversation, and you would listen as if I were talking to an eggplant that I was wanting to have a serious conversation with.
That about sums that up. No, that's mean. I don't want to be hateful to the Kardashians.
I don't
they found their lane.
The eggplants.
This is part of our plan, so we can have our own reality show. I think this is we've got something here.
Yeah,
I kind of like it actually.
Well, the one thing they know is Caitlin would be welcome with our crowd, right?
Oh my.
Yes.
No comment.
Oh, we got a kitty. Do we have a kitty purring?
Yeah.
Because that may be the first time.
Yeah, that's our Dagny. She occasionally tries to make appearances on our podcast. She wants food right now, is what she wants. So.
Because she's never been fed in her entire life.
Yeah.
Tell her to pray. Maybe some manna from heaven will fall.
No, what she does is start nipping at my ankles, and then I have to spray her with a water bottle to tell her to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, if you
in real life,
if you notice
pray.
It in the podcast,
in real life you can't pray. You have to nibble at ankles.
You'll notice sometimes you might hear me talking from a distance in the podcast, like I'm coming back to the table, and that's when I'm getting the cat off of something that she's definitely not supposed to be on.
Yeah. So. And he has run out of the room, and I'm trying to talk to cover for him.
Yeah.
And then he runs back in and tries to pick up wherever I have left off. and he's all out of breath and everything.
Yeah, so if you ever hear that, that's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
I want that specific thing to happen during Daniel and the Lion.
Oh my gosh. We'll try to make that happen. We're not at Daniel yet, but we'll try to make that happen.
You know, I was remembering a question that I had asked in an interview with you guys. So, being that you're still in the OT and you're getting through that, you've got a ways to go. Do you have any plans to read other religious books after that?
Yes,
but that's evolving.
Yeah, with caveats. Yes, we're very interested in reading a lot of the materials that have been discovered over the last several centuries that didn't make it into the Bible for whatever various political nefarious reasons. Like the Dead Sea Scrolls comes to mind most obviously. So we plan to check those out. We want to get into the Torah. We want to get into the Quran. Our only issue is trying to find texts that are things that we can read easily without tripping as much as I do, even with the version of the Bible that I'm currently reading, which is kind of dummied down, I'm still tripping.
I was going to say you could get like a Bible or a Quran for dummies, although the original versions are for dummies.
That is kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
Well, what my caveat was more of the more we are doing the Bible, the more we're finding out that there's more we need to cover when we're done, and it just keeps. I guess our project just keeps elongating further and further out as far as what we have left to cover. So
yeah, so we keep kind of adding to our list, and there's no telling when we will get to other texts. But we're not just gonna we read the Bible and now we're done. We're gonna keep.
Can I make a request?
Sure.
Of course.
Please, Infancy Gospel of Thomas. It's
the Gospel of Thomas.
The Infancy Gospel of Thomas is a non-canonical book, and
without
going too far into it, it's amazing. It's the best. Trust me. Just trust me. I don't want to give anything away. It's amazing.
Sure.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely add it to our list.
I've actually been doing a lot of reading about textual criticisms lately of the Bible and stuff like that, and it's very interesting how the Bible actually came to be, which is a whole other thing that I want to get into at some point. Mm-hmm. Talking about how mistranslated and how just wrong some of the shit is that's in the Bible, just because of, we're playing a huge game of fucking telephone. Over the years, this message is definitely not the same message that was originally given. It's crazy how much that interferes with the messages that are in the Bible, let alone, what people believe today and
of all the things that you've read so far, that you've been through so far, what's one or two of the things that have been the most shocking to you that were in there that you didn't know were in the book?
For me, it was the story where the guy was being accused of homosexuality, and rather than that, he threw his wife out to the people that were pounding at the door saying, let us rape your homosexual friend. And he was like, no, take my wife instead. And so then they, raped her a million times or whatever, and then chopped her into pieces. And he didn't know that she was still alive. And he's like, not thrilled, I guess, that she's still alive, and puts her on his horse and takes her home, and all the different pieces get sent out to various people that pissed him off or something. I don't know. That was a story I was not expecting, that clearly has stuck with me, although the details I probably garbled. But yeah.
I think the amount, for me, it's not necessarily one specific one, though there are the bears. I know that one caught wife off guard.
Yeah.
The bears mauling the kids.
Yeah.
Hey.
And but the amount.
Call someone bald.
That doesn't justify it.
Yeah.
Bald guy,
I was like,
I don't want people making fun of me. So if Yahweh is going to protect me with bears, fine.
If Yahweh does it, then by all means, but he's got to make a presence known, more than just I guess if bears attack kids that called you bald, that's
I just couldn't find pleasure in that. I don't know.
Right. But I think
you hear stuff like this, and then you're like, yeah, these are really fucked up stories, and yet you have people that want to ban other like children's books on, acceptance or race or sexuality, and it's so ridiculous. I
Oh
think
It
yeah,
really is.
BA, or the badass kicking new atheist, if I got that right, he once defined it as the Bible was created for power and control.
yeah. No, I mean it definitely was. I mean, if you look at it in that sense, it's just a rule book, and it's like any other rule book, is to keep people in check and keep people in power, and that's what all laws and rules essentially boil down to, in my opinion, at some level.
And I think this is why it's important to look at it as a text of a work of literature and study it as that. And then when you start doing that, or as you guys have realized that, yeah, this is bonkers, that
Yeah,
anyone would take this as truth.
The only way anyone takes any of those writings as, omnipotent, the truth, the word, is if they come in with the presupposition that there's truth in there. If you just read it like you guys are saying, if you just read it as the text is and evaluate it like you would anything else, you're not going to come out going, "Oh, this is the answer to the universe." It's just not the way it works.
yeah. As we all know, that's 42. So I
I
mean,
mean, I was gonna
it's,
say the Bible
for
isn't
those who are
42,
fans
so
of Douglas Adams, sorry, that
yeah.
was random throw in there. Yeah,
All of my friends
but
are
the answer to the life,
happy
universe,
with
and
me.
everything is 42.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I. Wait, I was going to say something. Not never mind. I'm shutting up for a moment because I forget what I was going to say.
Well, also, I like how it can also help you to see how it overlays on top of other mythological stories that have happened in the past as well, and then see how much of it has gleaned into the Bible and made into its own
Well,
version.
Yeah, that's been very interesting.
and you
That
guys even said on tonight that when you set out to like see what was in there because people are so enthralled by this. You were curious. It wasn't like let's prove this wrong, let's make fun of this. It's first let's figure out what's in there. And like Zaylen just said, one of the reasons I did correct you that time on Baal is because I really am into the ancient, Mesopotamian, Babylonian, mythologies, and that's kind of where he comes from, where that guy comes from. And when you
Right.
see that one attaches to the other, and they have similarities, and they're all trying to get at similar things, it makes it much easier to dismiss one. Because if I'm going to dismiss Baal, why wouldn't I dismiss what came from Baal, right? So like you
Yeah. Well,
said,
and one of the funniest things to me that we discovered in the Bible is that there's different sects of Christianity, or not Christian. I'm sorry, Judaism in the Old Testament, right? So there's your Judah Israelites, and then there's your rest of your Israelites in the early OT, and the other Israelites worship like this bull statue, but it's still Yahweh at some level.
yeah.
And so we're talking about two different groups of people that are worshiping essentially the same God, but one of them has an idol that the other one doesn't like. And it's just like these little idiosyncrasies that are all through there that it's like, wait, what? Why do you guys fucking care that much about that stupid ass shit? Who cares? That's dumb. I mean, most of the reason that we care about the Bible right now is just because of what it's doing to our society and people around us. So I mean, I can't imagine caring about whether somebody worships a bull or a fucking Asherah pole or the dirt. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
if innocent humans
It's
weren't being hurt and subjugated in the name of these mythologies, they would just be silly. But because they're dangerous, and it is something that we need to speak up against and stand up against and speak up, push back against. It's
Well,
clearly
and
not
that's
benign.
that's my answer. That's my answer when people ask me why we do, like, why we continue to do this. Why are we railing against religion at some level? Because I mean, our Twitter feed does rail against religion at some level, and our podcast definitely at some points we go off the rails a little bit.
yeah.
And it's because of what it is doing to people in society, the ideas that they are having because of this ancient text, and the thoughts that it's having them, the laws that it's having them create because of it, the things that we have to follow and adhere to in this society right now because of this stupid ass text that we're reading from thousands of years
I
ago.
mean, the rollback of women's bodily autonomy, the rollback of books in our library that you pointed out earlier, are being banned, and what teachers can or can't do in their classrooms with regard to the LGBTQIA plus community, or teaching anything that has to do with racial inequalities. All of that is based on this stupid, foolish religion. And how can we not, as sensible people who want equality and equity for everyone, how can we not be offended? How could we not take this a little more seriously than maybe we started as?
And
Like
somebody even said, I'm sorry, somebody even said to me earlier today, and I just want to back you up on this. Somebody said to me earlier today, because they got upset, and they said, why are you mocking these people? Why are you mocking the things they care about so deeply? And my answer to that is, like you just said, because they are not mocking, and they are hurting individual humans, subjugating them, treating them as lesser. In some countries, cutting their heads off for not believing the same thing. So while, yes, I do get a little heated and angry and mock a belief, they are hurting people. I'm making fun and ridiculing a belief. And by the way, I'm ridiculing a ridiculous belief. By definition, a ridiculous thing deserves ridicule. That's the word. That's where it comes from. If it's a ridiculous belief, it's okay to ridicule it, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not hurting people, and they are. And until people stop hurting people, I will not stop hurting those ideas that hurt the people.
Well, to use an analogy, it's like they're the bears attacking us, and we haven't done anything, and so then we're like, ugh, Baldy. Like, it's like they're doing all the harm that the bears are doing.
Now Dale's never going to invite us back.
I know. I wasn't calling you Baldy. I was saying that we're somehow the bad guys for the name calling. And it's like, you guys, you have the claws, and you're literally tearing us apart and biting us and causing bodily harm. And you're upset that we're mocking you? Get the fuck out of here with that noise.
Now somebody's saying it's not right for you to mock them. 100, 200, 300 years ago was them killing us for mocking them or just disagreeing. So, like, yes, I get it. I understand that you feel bad and you're trying to be nice and you don't want them to be upset. The intent is pure when people say don't mock them. But the problem is we haven't been mocking these religions for thousands of years, and they've gotten a leg up on us. And not only are they mocking, they're controlling us. So we need to fight back. That's all. It's that simple.
Here's my pushback on that too. I find that, and I'm sure you come across this too, but in my journey through Twitterland, I do occasionally come across a reasonable Christian. By reasonable Christian, I mean somebody who is willing to talk about their faith and not get overly worked up about it. And I could see maybe even sitting down with them at a coffee shop and talking about it. That does happen occasionally. And I would love to have that conversation with somebody. I think that would be an amazing conversation. It's just not, Twitter's not built for that. Most of those conversations that I have had with people have been through DMs, and I have had some good conversations with some theists over the time that I've been on here, but it's very few and far between. But just because we're out here mocking does not mean that people aren't willing to talk still.
Right. Well, that is true.
So it also means that us as atheists or secular people, that we still value people as, the humanity, the human side. And we do have compassion, we do have empathy. And I think because they hear, oh, you said a joke, so therefore you're hateful, you're going to hell, you're not a good Christian. For them, it's like it's very skewed in their reality.
Yeah.
My mom has told me more than once that she sometimes cries at night because my husband and me are going to hell.
Well, too late. We already been.
And I'm thinking, my friend, my mom, my friend, there's so much worse in my past that I've done that you might consider quote unquote sinful, that like me being on this podcast or being an atheist, like that's the fucking least of your concerns if I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, I'd have to repent for my entire fucking life, and who's got the time for that?
I just have a cute anecdotal thing to throw in here about the mother thing, because you guys know I have my share of issues with my religious mother. But one thing that
Yeah.
just happened very recently that is, I laughed at it, but only because basically she said to me, I said something to her about somebody else, and she said, "Well, I just don't understand why you always have to say negative things about the religious thing." She's like, "You're always judging everybody, and I have heard you over and over the years say all of these absolutely horrible, disgusting things about Christians, and I've never judged you for it." And I went, what? And she, and we were face to face, and she was looking at me seriously. She goes, "I've never judged you for that." And I went, "Mom, I love you to death. You just said you've never judged me for all of these horrible, disgusting things you've had to hear me say." And she said, "Yes, I have not." And I went, "Okay, I love you. Goodbye." Like, what am I going to say there? Yeah.
Like, if I have to explain it, it's not something you're capable of getting because it doesn't require explanation.
It's almost like she would be capable of looking me in the eyes and saying, "I would never judge you, but I think you are an absolutely disgusting and vile human, and you repulse me. But I would never judge you because Jesus says not to judge. Bless you."
Oh my god. It's the bless you for me.
But husband and wife, I have a question for you guys. I know that you were just mentioning that it's rare that you'll have a conversation with someone who is a Christian or has faith in something, and that can just be kind of just camaraderie there. So some of your listeners, from what I understand, do have a belief system. So have they sent you messages? Are they nice? Are they assholes? Like,
No, actually, we have a one of our patrons is somebody who believes in God. He goes to a college that we live near here, and
he's a theology student, right?
He's actually majoring in theology of some type. I can't remember exactly what. We've had a ton of great conversations. He actually recommended that I read Bart Ehrman, which I have, and he's not a what I would call a full blown Christian. He's someone who's very curious and is questioning, but he still claims Christianity. And then we've also heard that we've got from some of our listeners, we know that there are actually pastors that listen to us, apparently to bone up on their own material when they go in front of
them on their toes.
Church. So I thought that was really fun to know too.
But I think that who we've heard from the most is somebody that we never even considered, and somebody that we're just shocked at how many we've heard from, and that is recovering Christians, people who are deconstructing. That is who we hear from the most, and those messages are the most gratifying because they are so sincere and heartfelt, and they thank us for helping them have the permission that they didn't know they even needed to read the Bible in a different way.
Yeah.
And to not even know that we were doing that for somebody until they brought it to our attention.
I don't think we started this with any preconception of what we were doing. We just wanted to read the Bible and learn more about it. So when we started getting those messages from people that are deconstructing and learning how it affects their take on the Bible and their ability to process the information with such heartfelt messages that we get, I mean, on a regular basis, really. And
they bring me to tears because they are
really great.
They are so unexpected. It's just nothing I ever thought. I never even thought to think it, And like, you don't know what you don't know kind
literally
of thing.
Just me and wife, we sit here in a room doing this podcast, and we have people in different countries across the U.S., I mean, just everywhere, and we just get these emails just out of the blue, like just long emails just telling us thank you and explaining their whole situation and how they did. I mean, we know so much about so many people at this point that have let us know about their situations. It's really amazing.
It's
really
clear that there's a need for this. Yeah. And that is interesting to learn that, we didn't know that we were creating this niche or edging in on this small niche and kind of making it our own. Like, we didn't have that in mind. And there's clearly a need. This niche does exist. And to know that we're helping people is just amazing. Honestly,
What
amazing.
what I
Not.
really love about
Sorry, go
your
ahead, Zaylen.
podcast is that it is approachable content, and you're not like you were saying before, you had not read the Bible before, and I think it resonates with others as well. And through your humor, and as you're going through this together, and uh, you are you are encouraging critical thinking, and that is what is, I think, missing with a lot of folks that have been told you can only digest this content one way.
Yeah.
That was profound, what you just said, that we are encouraging critical thinking. Like, I would never have thought that I would be a person who would do that. So that's profound.
But you say you didn't set out with that goal, and that's kind of how stuff like that works, and it's why it's one of these great things with when I say our community, I mean secular community, and Zaylen knows this very well. We just started this. Zaylen kind of was like, "Hey, I got an idea. Want to just see what we can do with this? Maybe it would be an idea to talk. Maybe some people would like it, a place to come chat, and you never really know what you're getting into. But the thing is, it's an I hate saying it like I'm going to sound like a capitalist now, but untapped market. But not about financial, but it really is. It's an untapped market of all these people coming out of religions, the free thinking movement. We're 500 years into real science, and people need more. When we say we get these religions, there's always like something missing from people. They feel like they're losing something, whether it's friendship, whether it's understanding, whether it's community. So if we can offer those things in different ways, just like every church does, 45,000 denominations of Christianity, right? Everybody needs their own little different flavor. So you guys are a flavor that some people love and need, and you didn't even have to know that going in to do that. And maybe we are a little bit too, and all of us can just everybody can add their own special uniqueness and build community. It's amazing.
No, and I could be wrong, but I mean, I think that just us being husband and wife and having our relationship on the podcast while we're reading it as well lets people know that maybe on the fringe of deconstructing or just wanting to know more about their religion and from different takes or even come to hate listen to us. They can't deny that we have a great relationship on air. They can't deny that we get along great and that we have a great rapport. So I mean, they have to break that barrier to then criticize us at the very least.
I love you and your caveat so much. They can't deny that we have a great relationship on air.
Blast you.
Well, we have a great relationship off air as well.
We could not fake this camaraderie. Honestly, we're not good at reading scripts, and the husband particularly is lousy with the script.
People say you can't fake the funk, and you guys are funky as fuck. So it's clearly not fake.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we've been arguing prior to a podcast and had to we got to make up real quick. We got to get this episode recorded. And then we'll just glare at each other like, you ready to have fun? Yeah. And that's literally...
Guys, that's so awesome. Yeah, my husband is actually listening here, SeaWall, and shout out to him because he's the one that's been helping us transition some of our old spaces to YouTube. So thank you so much. But I also like to say, we've been together for 10 years and I like my husband. That's very important to like
it
them.
It really is. It really is. I mean, you have to like your partner in life, you have to like them because the friendship is what lasts. The fun you have together is what keeps going.
I don't know if this is legal, but I can confirm that Zaylen actually likes her husband off air.
Aww. Well, confirmed or not, we do like each other off air as well.
Yeah.
And actually,
we went to hell together.
We did go to hell together, and not in a handbasket.
Right. No, that would have been a rough ride.
I will say that I think that the podcast has actually been really good for our relationship because it does force us to have these conversations regularly that we wouldn't normally have. I mean, people don't talk about religion or whatever, or their deep inner beliefs, or their thoughts on how policies are impacting the world today based on religion.
Well, and on a smaller level, at least one time a day, we have to sit down and laugh a lot in front of each other.
Yeah. So I mean, it really is surprising to me, honestly, that it's been really good for just our relationship, and our relationship was never really bad, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Definitely.
And so, you took two people who liked each other, and now we're two people that like each other and have so much fun together.
The idea actually kind of started on our porch, because we used to go out on the porch and we would just sit there and talk about bullshit for like an hour. Like, we could do this on a podcast, you know?
I love that you guys started the podcast together and it brought you closer together, and it really does sound like you have a beautiful relationship. SeaWall, close your ears. So Zaylen, what are you doing with it? It really is just beautiful to hear that you guys have that. Like, the fact that you're able to do, I mean, you can call it, right, kind of work together, even though you enjoy it, right? And then have that and this. It really is beautiful, and it shows. Yeah.
And we kind of, I mean, like, we are husband and wife.
I'm sorry, at the beginning I said I wasn't going to say anything nice again, and I didn't think about it.
Oh, yeah. You fucked up. The husband and wife thing is kind of a thumb in the face of Christianity a little bit, too.
It is.
Because, the one man, one woman thing just rubs us the wrong way a little bit,
Just me and my chattel.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then I'm here to say, fuck you.
We are husband and wife, but, like, us using those terms is also kind of tongue-in-cheek. So.
Yeah.
Partner and partner.
Yeah, there you go.
But that could get confusing.
Right, that would get really confusing.
But again, the husband and wife using those terms also says, when someone starts listening, they're like, wait a minute, why are they calling each other by that? It sounds like, are they in a cult or something? And then, oh, that's not
that part, Zaylen, I'm with you. That part, hi, I'm husband and I'm wife. It sounds like Amy Coney Barrett would be talking, yeah, or Mike Pence or whatever, yeah.
Yes, I'm imagining like Amish style clothing, and you're ready to, open the Bible.
Yeah, one step away from calling her mother.
Right.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that would no.
Never do that ever.
So I wanted to bring this conversation around, since we're approaching an hour, and open up the stage for any questions. And thank you all for kind of giving us a moment to chit chat a little while. Hey, Brian, you can unmute your mic.
I was wondering have you gotten to the Philistine story in Samuel? I think it's 18.
Yes, we did that a while back.
Yeah, we did finish. We did finish both books of Samuel, but I don't recall particularly what you're asking about. So refresh my memory.
All right. Well, I actually suckered a Christian apologist in another Twitter space to admit that Paul and Saul were the same person. But then when I pointed out the fact that Saul/Paul was asked David to fetch 100 Philistine foreskins, they suddenly backed off and said, "Oh no, it's not the same person. It's the same spirit." I'm like, "What the fuck's the difference?" Okay, Paul, you just said, okay. Why do you even care about this? You're talking about a story. I mean, you're not going to put this in a children's Bible, but it's there. It is there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was a disturbing one for sure.
Yes.
That is another one that I forgot about. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more like, can you believe that shit was in there? How many times can you say that? Like, there's a bag of foreskins, like you said. There's bears mauling children. There's abortion potions. Like, there's a talking donkeys. It's
Well, I mean, a lot of people ask. I mean, like, people will throw out the First Samuel, whatever, and I mean, it's not that we haven't read it, but it's hard for me to, like, which crazy bit are we talking about now?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't keep track of it all. It's all.
Yeah, you have to say, hey, I'm talking about. Like, I felt like Louis C.K. Hey, I'm talking about the bag of dicks. Like, you literally have to say exactly what you're talking about.
That would have got me to it right away,
It's true. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I do regret, is that even though we're reading it, I can't pull these things out of my ass. Like, I can't just be like, oh, I know that verse, or I know that book. Man, I barely understand the story of where I'm at in the Bible. right now, today. And
One thing I wanted to say to you, because you mentioned this earlier, you said you have a lot of people, because you're still in the Old Testament, who say, well, oh, that part doesn't count. You know, and you talk about specific verses, and it is good to remember some. One thing that's always good to bring up when anybody says, and I think you probably know this, that doesn't count, is Matthew 5:17. Matthew 5:17 is, do not think that I've come to abolish the law of the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. So, like, literally, if somebody says, oh, Jesus abolishes the old rules, you go, well, Matthew 5:17, Jesus says, I didn't come to abolish the old rules, but fulfill them. So you can tell me that's what Jesus said, because in some places you can infer that. But he actually says the opposite in the same book, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of those contradictions, too. I mean,
that's part of the course.
Yeah, I mean,
the double speak.
You can take the Bible and you can make it say, mean whatever the fuck you want it to mean, because there's so much wrong with it that I mean, let's be honest, you can take Moby Dick and fucking twist it to mean whatever you wanted it to mean if you take things out of context.
45,000 denominations of Christianity can't all be wrong.
Yes, they can.
You don't think that one of them has it 100% exactly correct and all of the other ones are wrong?
No.
I would have to believe in a God, and I don't.
Yeah.
The simultaneous simplicity of that answer, you were like figure skaters there with the no. It was beautiful.
I mean, it was like we took a split second to think about it and then realized there's no thought necessary for this one.
Right.
It's
the answer
just
is no. Yep, I'm with you.
We did get someone say that they need to listen to your podcast, and that's really awesome of them to do that.
Hey, we're all for that. Yeah.
That's fun. I hope that they enjoy, and I hope that they get something out of it, and I hope that they let us know if we have fucked shit up or if something particularly struck them as funny or interesting, because that's always cool to hear.
Or maybe one day someone will call you or tell you that you've helped them with their critical thinking skills.
That would be amazing. If you just only knew what a goofball I am.
Yeah, but so what? You can be a goofball and still think critically. Those aren't those don't have to be, separate things. You can conflate the two. I think I'm a goofball, and I like to think of myself as a critical thinker.
I would agree with that assessment.
My husband's definitely a goofball.
Oh, hey, no one. I haven't heard your voice in a while. Come on up. And Hadrian, too. Thanks for joining us.
Mine's more like what you guys have all talked about. I was raised as fundamental Pentecostal, so when they say they don't judge you, I'm like, yes, they do, because I did it all my life. But back to the hypocrisy that I don't know what you guys think of it, but we're not supposed to mock them or judge them or say anything bad about them, but they can tell me I was born going to hell. I mean, I always feel like saying, well, I'll quit mocking you guys when you quit telling me I had original sin and I need to change everything about myself and become a new creature.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I 110% agree with you.
Yeah, that's one of the largest impetuses as to why we do mock the religion.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand with, wait, you need me to repent? Like, where do I fucking start? And I'm not sorry for any of it.
A good way to point out that hypocrisy, if anybody knows the TV show The Office, the American version of The Office, the character Angela is a very religious character. And she talks about how when somebody does something wrong, her group of religious friends, she goes, we absolutely do not gossip. We might get together and discuss their lives and think about the best way for them to move on and then try to help them in that direction. But we do not gossip about them ever.
Well, they don't see it as they don't see it as gossiping. They don't see it as hurtful. They think they're saving you. They think they're doing the right thing. They don't know or see the harm that they're doing. I'm not saying that all of them don't. I'm saying that some of the more naive don't see the harm that they're doing. They think they're doing this.
Naivety. It's the naivety of the view of, no, we're trying to help you, and it's like, but you don't think other people may be trying to help when they're talking about these things? Yeah.
How about you help me less?
Yeah, don't need that kind of help.
Can you don't?
Hadrian, did you have a question or a comment for Sacrilegious Discourse?
Yes, thank you. I actually found out about Sacrilegious Discourse from this space, which is why I love Zaylen and Dale so much. I'll definitely try to check you guys out. You guys have a great vibe, and I can't wait to listen to your podcast. I do not have a serious question. I have a fun one, which is I read the Bible from the front to the end, Old Testament and the New Testament, and it's for just for fun. I want to know what is your favorite biblical story that you wish was true.
Oh, that is a really good question. And I was not prepared for that.
No.
Okay, you know what? I will tell you, I wish that the Solomon staring off into the distance at Bathsheba.
Oh my god, that's the one I was going to use.
Oh, seriously?
I think it's so fucking funny.
I wish that it was as romantic as Christians claim it is. And I wish that we had like the ability to have seen that. Just because, like, when you read it, it's nothing like the Elizabeth Taylor story that they present. You know, when you read it, it seems first like he's very rapey and sneaky and like, I want that bitch over there that's hot. And then later it seems like she's like, well, I'm just a woman stuck, and so I am going to connive and do what I can, and you can't blame me because I'm a woman and I'm stuck. And then she and her son like help, write the rest of the book of Samuel or something. So I would say less that I wish that it was true and more that I wish that it was just as romantic, sweet, and innocent as the movies and the stories that you hear about it before you actually read it.
Right.
Does that fairly answer that question?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I can connect with you in that sense that I have a different story, which is the story of Joseph. You know how like he was taken by the queen, and then although he was Jewish or Israelite, but he still ruled Egypt like a spy. Like to me, that was like the biblical spy thriller. Like there's a more.
Yeah, he kind of infiltrated and took over, basically.
Okay, I want to change my answer because actually I fucking love Joseph and his amazing Technicolor coat. Like, that story is amazing the way it comes around. It's one of the few times when you actually don't mind somebody that starts off as one thing and ends up like king of the world kind of thing.
How about the time that the one girl got, I forget who it was exactly. There was a girl that got raped, but then her brothers got the whole, Dinah, that's right.
Dinah got raped.
So her brothers got this other tribe that raped her, or whatever, this guy's tribe that raped her, got them all to
get
circumcised themselves. And then they came in and fucking murdered them.
While they're still suffering.
Damn, that is some harsh. I mean,
I appreciated that.
We were like, whoa, okay.
Honestly, I appreciated that.
Yeah, we did.
If you're
that was Judah.
If you're gonna kill me, don't make me chop off a piece of my dick first. Like, that's just
right. I mean, that's
rude.
Damn.
But yeah, Joseph is badass. I kind of like him.
Yeah,
that's something that was part of my childhood growing up being Jewish. They focus on that part of that stuff as well. That's another thing too that you guys, I know and you get to learn when you read all these different books, like the different parts that intertwine with each other, whether it's from the Jewish writings or the Christian or the Muslim. Either way, at some point, there's these same stories that have different twists to them.
Yeah.
That's been really, really hard to differentiate too when I go to research these, when we have Q&As and I try to, answer that question, but I'm reading like answers from 3 different sources and also trying not to give myself spoilers so that I don't know what's coming up. That's been one of the fun but difficult parts.
I actually did like reading the biblical stories when I was younger, and I think for me, as I got older, it helped me to read more on the mythological stories. I really love Greek mythology and Roman mythology and even indigenous stories. And so, it's all fascinating to me. But I see it as literary works.
I know that it's rude to ruin the end of a book, but when you guys get to the end of this book, the magic baby gets caught, murdered, comes back to life, kills everybody, and his people live happily ever after in the clouds, and we all get murdered and tortured forever. The end. Oh,
I know we're all shocked.
And
I am Iron Man.
if you're Iron Man, the God of the Bible is scared shitless of you because Yahweh is afraid of iron.
Yeah, he is.
Fact.
Yeah.
Hashtag facts.
Yeah, that was a weird thing to learn.
Yeah. That was like just this little like one-off thing, and we were like, hold the phone, what?
Whoa. Those are iron chariots. I didn't say I could handle those things. Guys, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting to learn.
And by the way, I was thinking of a meme I saw like a week ago or something, speaking on the rapture. Us non-theists, like, we're willing to take care of your pets as you depart from this world, and I'm taking reservations right now. So
Yeah.
I just saw that same thing, and it struck me so hard. Like, y'all should be nice to us, because it's true. I'm gonna be taking your cats in, Mom. So you might want to change your fucking tune.
I will be foster mama to all the dogs and cats and love them.
I just pictured a cat getting like sucked up into the air, being like,
All dogs go to heaven, but where do the cats go?
Sorry, actually, in the Old Testament, it says that the animal spirits return unto the ground, but man ascends unto the skies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so early on...
Stephen King made a movie about that.
That's true. But when I was in high school, my biggest problem with religion and faith and all that was learning that animals don't go to heaven. And I lost my shit because all I could think is, like, we had just been watching documentaries about all these different creatures, and among them was elephants, and learning that elephants mourn their dead, and that they are very family oriented, and that they are highly intelligent and empathetic beings that have actual feelings and kindnesses and memories that are decades long. I mean, they care. And
I'm sorry, and I want to add
they are artistic.
I want to add one thing, because this is important with our secular views, to your elephant rant, because you're 100% correct. They are also matriarchal.
Exactly. And all I could think is, if they don't go to fucking heaven, then I don't want to go to fucking heaven. So fuck you and your religion. Because, I mean, I felt so offended on elephants' behalf. And, like, I mean that as all animals, but particularly elephants, because that's just what I had happened to have been studying when this information came to me.
If we're taking the elephants, we're going to need thicker clouds to hold the elephants.
I mean, I'm trying to, like, justify this as, very immature teenage thinking. That was my logic. Well, if elephants can't go to heaven, then I'm not going either. Like, let's step back a pace for just a second, and let's actually examine, is there a heaven? Probably not. So it's not a problem, dear. Don't worry about it. Elephants are going to be fine.
And there's an upcoming movie, I think it's coming out next week, and it's based on a true story. It's about a bear that is...
Cocaine bear.
And
oh, yeah.
What happened to that bear? What?
He found his
stash.
Yeah.
He's set
having
for
a
the
good
winter.
Time, apparently.
I go see that movie for sure.
It's based on a true story, but like really, really done up.
Yeah. Hey, Brian. Go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. To say that human beings are the only species that has more, that's such an absurd claim to me. I mean, have you ever seen that famous video of that kid being attacked by the dog and the cat runs up behind it and scares the dog away? Where did the cat get the idea that kid needed to be protected? That's evolution doing it. It's not coming from a sky daddy. It's not coming from, the dog didn't attack because of a devil with pitchforks playing with its neurons. It's evolution. That's all it is.
Well, and I find that a lot of the people who are religious and heavily indoctrinated in religion have a very skewed idea as to what morality means and is.
Yeah.
And like if they believe what they believe, there's really just no explaining to them what morality actually means because they won't hear it.
Right.
And but
these religions made a mistake by not saying that they allow pets into heaven. Like that right
Yeah.
there, if you're tugging on heartstrings, let them bring the pet. But unfortunately, as they were writing the books, they kind of just domesticated dogs, so they didn't get it yet.
Go figure. You mean things happened before, like, God got woke and God didn't know about it ahead of time? Seriously?
I guarantee you the Egyptians wanted their cats there, right?
It's true. But somehow
yeah.
Yahweh wasn't aware.
Hey, let's be honest. If there was an intelligent designer, our pets would live much longer.
That's
Yeah.
so true. That is the truest true that ever trued.
Although
Because
the intelligent designer I've heard of wants us to suffer.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say it. That sounds more like yeah.
I mean, I've lived through the death of multiple cats over my lifespan, and I wish they lived longer. So
Yeah, really.
that would be my prayer.
Yeah, it's not if there was an all-powerful deity. If there was a compassionate deity who cared about us, who was benevolent. But clearly,
I just like how
that
God
deity is not benevolent.
I like how God becomes whatever that person wants it to become at that point in time. If you say that your God won't help children that are dying because of this, but then they'll turn around and say, but no, he'll help whoever in another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Their God is whoever they want it to be in any given moment, no matter, like, it just depends on what conversation they have with any given person. That God changes.
My God helped my team sneak into the end zone the other night.
That's right. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Whoa. Actually, mine did not. So I was saying I used a bad example because I'm
sorry.
Okay. We kind of just lost the Super Bowl the other night.
Yeah.
I should have gone to another sport.
My bad. That's all right. That's all right. We're Bengals fans here, so.
Hey, this is absolute. One of the things that when you grow up, you're not supposed to challenge the Bible. So what you guys are doing really good. You know, I remember like when we'd go out, when someone would say, well, if you can't convince them the Bible's real, you can't. That was kind of one of the things we were told. And then the other thing is I don't know what Bible you're reading. You talked about the numerous different ones. We believed you only had to read King James. And then let me get to my quick point here, is that most of us would read our own study guide that like our church recommended. And we went ahead when I was Pentecostal. And this is true. The one that I read, and I could send you clips from it if you really want to, has a section of, it was written in the 1950s by a guy from Georgia. So he had some very interesting views on the races. And there's actually a section of 40 reasons why segregation is biblical.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, I mean, they back when slavery was around in the U.S., they used the Bible to justify slavery. I mean, there's actually there's people that I haven't delved into it enough, but there's a lot of talk that I have seen. I think that there is some basis to say that Christianity in general was pushed forth in the manner that it was at some level to justify slavery.
Wait, I'm going to go ahead and give you everything you need right here, and yeah. I'll be the one to say it because it's true, but it's disgustingly true. They had books titled "How to Make a Negro Christian," and I don't say that lightly. Like, this is obviously a disgusting thing, but they would have that. They would read those books to the slave owners, to the people who were on the plantations, and they would teach them why they were supposed to obey their God, why, according to the book, it was their lot in life to be a slave, and why it was productive. And they would do this while they were kept illiterate, so they couldn't read the books themselves. It was absolutely used to propagate slavery and as an excuse to beat, mistreat, misuse everything they did. Literally, how to make a Negro Christian? It's absolutely disgusting. So when you say that that it was kind of used in that way, it was full force used in that way.
Well, let me ask you, what is Christianity what is Christianity being used for now? Like my take on what Christianity is being used for now is that you have your right-wing media, your right-wing pundits that are using Christianity and Christian ideas to push forward this idea of Christian nationalism, and it's nefarious how this is transitioning through our media and our lives right now, as far as how this is being treated by media companies and corporations and things that people are using Christianity to manipulate ideas still and still will in the future too.
Yeah, and I
So
want to say one more thing because it's not just Christianity, when you say that, and it's one of my problems with religion.
sure.
One of my favorite quotes. Religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by the rulers as useful. How hard does that hit? Because these people using it, especially in America right now, well, everywhere, the people in power using it know what they're doing. The majority of them don't believe it, and if they do, they're still using it in the way they want to control people. It's like Zaylen's pointed out earlier that we were told that people say it's a tool of control. It's a way to control people. It absolutely is. I just told you about the slavery. And then when you hear that quote that it's used by, look at the way Donald Trump, I hate you bringing his name up, but used the religion. He's not a believer. He used
No,
that to
he's
get
a
people to.
genius. I mean, when it comes to
Well, in that
manipulating
way,
religion,
manipulation wise, yeah.
yeah. When it comes,
I wouldn't say he's a genius. I would say he's a well-practiced manipulator.
he held that Bible upside down really well. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know,
He
there
did.
was a really he did that with a lot of belief behind it.
One of my problems with religion is not that most of the people who believe are bad people. The majority of
Right.
people who believe are not bad people, but it puts them in a position of being gullible and being used. Not all of them, but some of them, because if you're willing to just go blindly, to follow something blindly, even if it's a book like that, well, then you're willing to follow a leader who tells you they follow the book blindly. I mean, it's just, it's a tool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think January 6th is a prime example of what can be done with the right tools. And part of that mix, I'm not saying the whole thing because it's not the whole thing. Part of that mix, though, is Christianity and religion in general. They're using the same tools. They're using the same toolbox to manipulate people into doing things like January 6th.
And to see how far they can go.
Yeah.
And the answer is pretty fucking far.
I'd say don't forget Jonestown.
Hi, Farhana. Thanks for joining
Hey
us.
guys, I'm
Go
actually driving, and I just, if you guys don't mind, I just want to add what Infidel just said about it being a tool. I would go as far as to saying that this is the most lethal weapon on the planet as we know it. This thing, religion, any of them, any religion, cults, all of them, when you're controlling the minds of the people, you're rendering them the ability to think. And once you've taken the ability from someone to think on their own, you've got them in their hand. You're the puppeteer. You will do whatever you want. I think when you render individuals and human beings from the process of thinking for themselves, that's when humanity ends. In my view, humanity ends at that point when people are like zombies, and this like you said, it's a tool for the politicians. And I couldn't agree with you more. And it's really sad what's happening in the world today, especially when you look at countries like Afghanistan. They don't let these women learn. What if one of these women were the ones to figure out a way to colonize another planet? She lives in Afghanistan, but she just does not have the means or the potential to reach her fullest capacity and ability. What if she is tucked away in some village, in some room, locked up because she can't go to school? So for me, I feel horrible when I see situations where women are ostracized, left behind, ridiculed, having the right to be educated, being married off at a very young age, just no realization of any future potential or having worthwhile of an existence. Because to me, existence is not just about monetary wealth, it's about your mental wealth too. When you know you can think and make decisions on your own, you feel like a real human being. Sorry, I spoke too much, guys. I'm gonna go on mute myself because I'm driving, but I'm gonna keep listening to you guys.
You're all good. You're all good.
You guys
Farhana.
are awesome.
Thank you
Bye.
for taking the time and calling in, and drive safe.
Yeah, thank you for that and your insights too. And I can actually just speak really quickly to this too, onto what she's saying. In my town, it's a nice area, like what a husband and wife were saying. They live in a nice area, nice people, but we are right now dealing with a book review committee that is being formed and will review every single book that is going into the library here. And if that book somehow makes its way to the library without being approved, the library will be penalized by being funding having taken away. So less books, less access, less critical thinking for the children.
Freedom at its best, right?
That hurts my heart because in my other life, I'm a librarian. In my secret heart of hearts, I'm a librarian, and that just hurts me to the core. Ouch. I cannot stand the idea of banned books and keeping books from kids who are. I read about this librarian who works in a high school library, and she said the fact that a kid in fifth grade has picked this particular book and walked all the way across the library in front of his or her friends and bullies and other staff, and then put this on the desk and said, I want to check this out. Like the librarian said, that is everything to me, and I have to fight for that kid who was brave enough to do that. If I have to be at least as brave as that kid. And that really touched me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
in our town, we had an overwhelming majority of citizens here that spoke out against forming a book review committee, but the final vote fell into our city council, which is very conservative, all white males, and it passed in spite of our dissent.
I want to add something because I know you're getting close to closing up. We got a little way to end this, but I just want to add one last thing on this topic because it's become a little bit of a somber topic. You know, we're sitting here saying like, ugh, right? But I want to end it on a little bit of a positive note, and everybody knows I love randomly quoting people, and this is one of my favorite people. If we're not able to ask skeptical questions, to interrogate those who tell us that something is true, and to be skeptical of those in authority, then we're up for grabs for the next charlatan, whether it be political or religious, who comes ambling along. And those words are Carl Sagan. And it's so true that if we don't have that little bit of what's the right word I'm looking for? If we don't have that little bit of protection, the knowledge, the education, the information to fight back, we are powerless against people in power because they have the money, they have, obviously, the infrastructure. We can't fight back against an army, but we can fight back with knowledge and information.
Yeah,
Well,
Yep.
I
that
agree with that
pretty much
100%.
sums up what we're doing.
I do apologize for going down a little more somber note, but it's worth being said. And for those who are listening today, again, if you haven't had the opportunity to take a journey with Sacrilegious Discourse and as they're going through the Bible, please do, because you will actually read it in a different way that maybe you hadn't thought of before, and it opens up to critical thinking, and I absolutely support that. So I really appreciate you guys for taking some time and chatting with us. It's just been a phenomenal evening, so thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having us on again. I mean, we really enjoy this, and we enjoy talking to you guys. So, I mean, it's our pleasure.
We enjoy talking, period, but talking with other like-minded people is always wonderful.
Yep.
So thank you for having us twice now. So cool.
Definitely.
Everyone, have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you next week.
Have a good week, everybody.